I need a title for that one, I think. Maybe that one too. Gosh. Wow, some different images in that one. Okay, let's make a start.
Trianon.
I didn't hear because of the echo. Can you just say it again? Okay. Okay, a monochrome representation. I like the idea of using the strong rock structures in the foreground to act as a frame for the picture. Again, similar to the first section, whereby we're using elements of the foreground to act as a frame for the distant scene beyond. So we have strong rock structures. We have a bit of foreground. We have what could be a little rock pool there, some water there, and the wind gently blowing some ripples on that. Then beyond that, we got the scene of some other rock structures, some other islands in that wedge in the center. Does the monochrome help in terms of representing that? I think the sky is somewhat bright. I think the rocks in the foreground, particularly in the central area, a little bit dark. I'm just losing a little bit of detail. Maybe color may have helped us to separate the elements a little bit better, perhaps. So I think the rocks in the foreground are very dominant, but I somehow feel that we want maybe just lose a bit of bright sky, maybe a stormy sky there, maybe a bit more detail in the shadow areas. Some further post-processing, try and bring a bit more detail, more information to add interest to the viewer in that particular shot. So I'm marking a bit tougher in this section because, say, this is the expert section, as it were. So that starts with a 14, please.
Rochelle Etive-Moore.
A very popular place for photographers, and what an interesting shot this one is. I do like the colors. It's a very bright day. Normally I've seen shots when it's quite overcast, quite stormy, quite moody, but this one's on a bright day with some wonderful lighting in the sky. I do like the low angle. I do like the idea you got down low to the water and got that particular shot looking up towards the peak itself. That works particularly well. So I like the colorations in the rocks in the foreground. I love the peak itself. And I'm guessing, and I could be wrong here, that this was a longish exposure, but I could be wrong, because we've got some movement in the water down below, but also the clouds themselves give the impression of fleeting across the sky a little bit. So maybe it was a long exposure, maybe with a big stopper, just to give that particular effect in that shot. I think that's worked rather well. 16 for that one, please.
Why use four wheels when three are faster?
Okay, so we can see that the rear offside wheel is actually off the ground as that Mini goes round the circuit on what could be a track day. So I like the technique in terms of we've panned. So by panning means we've moved with the car. So we kept the car fairly sharp in terms of exposure, because relative to the camera, the car is not moving that much fast across the frame, but the background is, because the background's static and your lens is moving. So it gets this blurring effect of the background. That's great. So I like the sensation of speed in that particular shot. The Mini itself somewhat central in the image area. Maybe could have a little bit more space to move into. I also like the dramatic angle. We're not square on. That track isn't horizontal. Again, that adds a bit of drama to the shot. So a very competent picture of a car on a track. 15, please.
And what do you think you are looking at?
I love the humor in that particular title, and certainly that shot that we see, that the owl looking back at you, those big eyes, that beak staring straight at you. And I'm guessing it's the side of a barn. That's the window. An owl is about to come out and go hunting, maybe. And maybe it's the lighting quite bright. So I'm guessing it's the way it's been recorded, because I imagine that a bit of dust at the owl will come out for hunting. And maybe the exposure made it look rather bright. It looks almost like midday in terms of lighting. So I think the expression on the owl's face, that's great, fantastic. We can see beyond the barn, there's a bit of a green field, a bit of a blue sky. Do we actually need all up there? Could we have cropped it down? Maybe we cropped it down too much to make it into a vertical letterbox. It'd be too much of a crop, maybe. So yeah, it's a competent picture, and that works. We've got some other owl pictures coming up as well. 16 for that one, please. Yeah, litter bugs. Okay. So there's all sorts of rubbish lying around on the ground. I think it's more of a statement of what we find maybe after an event or a festival of some kind, that we find all sorts of things lying around on the ground. Does it make a pleasing picture in terms of composition? We got there, the bottle, a bit of a sort of diagonal across the image area, red competing with the green. Yeah, it's a shot. It's not a shot that I'd like to have on my wall at home, maybe. But yeah, it's a picture. 13, please.
Misty morning rays.
I like the way we caught the rays of the sun. I don't know where this location is, but certainly the light coming through the trees like that, giving the effect of those rays of light, and a bit of mist in the atmosphere will help to accentuate that effect. So that works particularly well. So I don't know where it is, but certainly there's a sort of gravel path in front. It's been well trodden, looking the way that the gravel's stirred up. I wonder whether you tried to make this symmetrical to get that square on, because you're not dead center there. You're standing a little bit offside, and we've got a bit more on the right-hand side than on the left-hand side. I wonder if a lined up, make it symmetrical, would have made it into a stronger shot. I really don't know, but certainly there's a great sense of lighting in that particular shot, very light, great sense of atmosphere in that particular scene that you recorded particularly well. 16.
At least the bicycle is secure.
Yeah, okay. That's a Cambridge shot, because it looks like one of the Cambridge colleges and all the bicycles outside. Yes, the bicycle may be locked, and maybe she needs a bit more security too. I've no idea. But yes, maybe it's a Cambridge scene. I don't know. I don't know whether this was one of the May balls in Cambridge, and these are people coming out. I've no idea. Certainly, if there's a May ball on in Cambridge, if you get out with a camera on Cambridge streets about 6 a.m. in the morning as they stagger home from a May ball, it's amazing what shots you can find. So yeah, this is a humorous shot. It's referring to the fact that the bicycle may be secure and maybe she's not. A bit of fun. 15.
Anna.
We've got some shots in tonight that appear to be from a studio session. And some people say that studio photography is dead easy because it's all under your control. Well, it is not dead easy. You need to get the pose right. You need to get the lighting set up correctly and make the shot interesting. And this is a very competent studio image, competent in terms of, I'm sure that the lady would like that particular shot. It works well. It shows her features, shows the lovely hair, shows the wonderful eye makeup and so on. And she's wearing a very interesting dress as well. So I'm sure she's very, very pleased with that shot. It's very much a high street photographer's type of studio shot, white background like that. For a photographer's type of shot, I think maybe we want to extend our technique to make it a little bit different, perhaps different lighting, add a different mood, a different pose, add extra elements to the picture to extend it from what the high street photographer would do into what a camera club photographer would do. So I think it needs a bit of an extra dimension to give it a little bit of strength here tonight. And when I've been in the studio photographing people, I do the shots like this to give to them so that a couple of weeks later, they can have a print or an image on disc these days to say thank you, and they're very pleased with it, and also get the different lighting shots that will work for me as a photographer. So it's a competent picture in terms of lighting and composition, but as I say, it's not quite the inventiveness I'm looking for from a club photographer to add a different dimension to a studio shot like that. 15, please.
One man and his dog.
Lovely sense of lighting in this particular scene. You can see for yourself, we have a coastal scene, tide's gone out, maybe sort of bright light early morning. There's a sense of maybe a hint of mist on the distant headland, perhaps, or maybe sort of vapor from waves crashing on the rocks, I don't know. But certainly the subject of the photograph is that man and the dog looking out to sea. That's what it's all about. With that wonderful foreground, sort of the sort of mud flats or where the water's gone out, and the contrary lighting effect on that leads into the picture, into that middle scene. Then we move right across the picture, then see that walker and the dog on the right part of the picture. That works well. Let's hold that one back, please.
Sipping out for a coffee.
I wonder what it was. So it's coffee. When I saw that, I thought, what could it be? Are they sort of magnifying glasses all lined up? Is it meant to be a kind of zipper? I've no idea. But now you told me it's coffee mugs looking down from on top. And one of those mugs has got coffee beans inside. So that's what the story is. And sometimes when a viewer sees a picture, they have to work out what the picture's all about. And the title certainly helps to give you that. And as soon as you get a title, you then say, ah, yes, that's what it is. It's obvious now I see it. So it's a different sort of picture. I like the high key nature. I like the shape of the coffee mugs like that. It's a little bit different, isn't it? And I wonder whether we could have just extended that a little bit by having one or two coffee beans spilled outside of the mug, maybe. Also an extra dimension just to add to that picture as well. But that's just me thinking aloud. I think it's an interesting and different picture. 15, please.
Just going to take a little pause. We're just about to run out of battery power on your microphone pack. I have some more batteries, so just bear with me one moment.
It's not on your side, it's on our side. There are there's a box of batteries here. Okay. Right. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Okay, good.
Okay, apologies everyone on Zoom. We've just changed the batteries over, and we will continue now with the next image. Drama Queen.
Yeah, I love the title, and that goes with the image, Drama Queen. I'm not sure whether that is actually from a play or maybe somebody's just dressed up for a studio session. I don't know, but certainly the attitude there matches the title. That works particularly well indeed. So I like the outfit. I like the way it's lit. maybe the sunglasses or tinted glasses, I think, is just hiding the eyes a little bit from the viewer. The lighting is coming from the right-hand side, whereby the left side is in shadow a little bit, but we've still got light there, so it's not in deep shadow. There's a mixture of outfits that she's wearing that the colors maybe clash a little bit. But I think the thing that bothers me a little bit is that we have this white area in the center with these like beige borders. Is she standing in front of maybe a whiteboard perhaps? I don't know. And I find that a little bit distracting in that shot, just a little bit. But it's a bit of a fun shot. I like what you tried to do here. And there's a great title, Drama Queen. That works well for me. 16, please.
Whiskey Nights.
This is what I call a more considered studio shot. The photographer here knows their technique in terms of lighting somebody like this. So it's low key in terms of it's mostly black, dark tones. We've got a black background. We've got a lighting maybe to one side, hopefully with some sort of honeycomb or barn doors to restrict the light to fall just on the face and on the arm and on the hand holding the whiskey glass. And the guy sitting back to front on chair and just leaning on that like that. So that works well. So I think lighting is good. I like the exposure on the face. Easily we can get the exposure whereby the arm can be a little bit overexposed, maybe being a little bit closer to the light source, but we haven't done that here. That's good. What I'd like to have seen is just a hint of separation between the guy's right shoulder and the dark background, because that's disappearing. On the right of the picture, his left shoulder, we can see there's a separation between that and the background. On the other shoulder, I'm struggling to make that out. And maybe in a really darkened room for maybe 10 minutes, I might just about make that out. I want to be a little bit stronger. I like the way you presented it with a little key line around the edge there. That is a competent studio type shot. I'd also just tone down his jeans on the bottom right of the picture because that's quite bright, pulling my eye down a fraction. I want to focus on the face, the arms, and maybe the hand holding the whiskey glass. So as a competent picture, one or two little niggles that let it down a fraction for me, but it gets a 17.
Stortford Blue.
Very competent picture. I get the feeling that maybe it's somewhat backlit because the wonderful detail in the wings are really standing out like that. Very simple picture, and the background is a little bit diffuse, but I can see there's other reeds or other bits of grasses in the background, giving a sense of environment. It's a very delicate picture, and I do like that background. Sometimes I say I want to see a bit more detail in the background, but that is not just a plain, really out of focus background. It gives me a hint of something else there. That works well. So I've enjoyed looking at the picture. We'll see that one again, please.
Too soon to be free.
Very similar to the previous one we saw of the same lady, whereby we had the white backdrop, very much a high street studio photographer type photograph. And I'm sure the lady and the little girl are very pleased with that particular picture. It looks very natural from a family portrait style like that. So good from that point of view. But as I said, for the previous shot, for being a club photographer, I'm looking for something different in terms of lighting. So do these type of shots to give them as a thank you for turning up to the studio for your session. They love it, but then think about some different lighting and so some different poses, because it's rather a standard upright type of pose, maybe a seated pose with a child leaning against the mother, or maybe a back to back, or maybe the child with a head against mum's tum or whatever. Think more about the posing and different lighting to put your stamp on this type of photography. So you're not just churning out what the high street photographer does, you're adding your own mark on this type of photography to make it a little bit different. 15.
St. Michael's Mount at sunset.
And what a great shot. I love the clouds in the sky. There's wonderful fluffy clouds, high cloud, catching the light like that. Looking very streaky, and streaks seem to point towards St. Michael's Mount itself. So great from that point of view. Tides out, showing the causeway. We got down low. We can see other rocks and boulders in the foreground. And if you didn't know the particular scene, you might almost confuse St. Michael's Mount for another boulder in the distance, but it's actually quite a big lump of rock with that church on top of it, or is it an abbey monastery? I can't remember. It was a monastery, I think, isn't it? So a great shot. I like the lighting. That works well. Hold it back, please.
Mysterious.
I'm guessing it's early morning because there's a sense of mistiness about that particular shot. Sun's coming up, the sun's about to burn away the mist, and gives a bright blast of light. I get the feeling maybe it's a wintry type scene. The trees don't have too many leaves. There are some leaves on there, it seems, but it's more of a autumnal type shot. The colorations work well. The distance scene on the left-hand side gives a sense of recession. Great reflection of the water down below, very, very calm indeed. It's a sort of shot whereby I need something else in the picture, bottom left-hand corner, to counter the bright sun in top right-hand corner. I need maybe a duck and ripples around the duck on the left-hand side. Give me something in the bottom left-hand corner. It looks a bit empty otherwise, but now you've captured some interesting light early morning. 15, please.
Browsing for books.
When the shot first came up, I had to work a little bit to try and understand what the picture was about, because it looked like maybe some flagstones. And I realized, oh, hang on, it's got words on there. They're actually books or magazines. So the sort of shot you need to look at for some time to understand what it's all about. It appears to be an arch under a bridge whereby we've got some stalls selling books or magazines, perhaps. So it's a bit of a busy picture. We can certainly make out the titles. There's Vogue in the foreground down there, and maybe Beatles and so on. We can make out what's in the foreground. The distance scene beyond that seems somewhat distant. Is it some by the Thames? I'm really not too sure. There's a tree there and other bits and pieces. But the top part, somewhat dark, holds our attention to the picture, but I can't see what's happening up there. So it's an interesting shot, but I feel we want to do something different to remake the elements stand out and show how they work together. We've got the books, we've got the distance scene, and we've got the top bit, and they don't seem to be working together in harmony that particularly well. And I feel it just weakens the picture somewhat. So I'm sure there's a picture here, but it needs a bit more work to try and bring that picture out and make it work. 14, please.
So, Rocking Bear Evans.
Yeah, a great character shot, and maybe this guy is as he is. Maybe he's dressed up for a play of some kind. I don't know, but it's a studio type shot, or maybe even a stage shot, maybe. But lighting is good. Lighting is a little bit direct, as if it's on a stage. I can see lighting up the hair, giving us that separation between the hair and the background. That works particularly well. And normally for a gentleman like that, we'd have sort of directional lighting from one side, giving lots of relief and shadow and texture on the face. So I'm guessing it's stage type lighting whereby we're trying to light the whole character so the audience can see. Pose is interesting. The hands on the lapel like that and the tattoos adds a bit of feel to the character of that particular person. So I think that comes across very well indeed. Hold on back, please.
Coming into land.
I see lots of in-flight shots of birds, but I don't see too many owls like that coming into land. And it shows something which I don't often see as a judge, the outstretched wings of an owl like that as it comes into land, and also the tail feathers spread out as it slows itself down to land on that piece of broken wood that we see in the bottom right-hand corner. It's quite a bright shot. Maybe it's a fairly bright day, perhaps. I'm not too sure. But again, with owls, sort of, they're mostly sort of, well, they are nocturnal. But if it's trained as a bird of prey, perhaps, and there's a handler with it somewhere, they will be out in daylight like this anyway. So I think the backdrop, a little bit bright maybe. I think maybe a third stop, less exposure, just to darken it down a little bit, might have helped that particular scene, but nonetheless, a very strong picture of the owl coming into land. Again, we can make out the orange eyes staring where it's going to land on that piece of wood like that. Hold it on back as well, please.
Thames estuary, greys at low tide.
It's a shot whereby you have to work hard to see what it is. So Thames estuary, low tide, we have these sort of like mud banks with a little gullies where the water drains away. Then we see this sort of shopping trolley that's been abandoned in there. Because it's monochrome, we have to work hard to understand what the picture's about. I think maybe if it was in color, whereby the mud banks were like a slimy green and the trolley standing a bit more of a silvery sort of color, may give a better separation between that trolley and the sort of the mud behind it. So I think the monochrome treatment needs a bit more work just to give a better separation between that abandoned piece of shopping trolley and the rest of the scene beyond. So we're picking out a little bit of detail. So it's an interesting shot, a little bit different. We don't often see shots like this because we have what we call more interesting shots of things in the Thames, maybe. 15, please.
Underworld.
I like this. I like the strong lead in. I like the symmetry of getting us under the pier, and all the pier posts take us right into that distant scene beyond. We go to almost like a vanishing point, and I can make out some sort of vertical structure at the end, some sort of post or whatever, but you know, it's right down the end there. And also like the foreground down below, we can see the beach, we can see some pebbles down there. On the left-hand side, we've got other bits on the distant horizon. We've got a little stump sticking out in the foreground, and maybe we've got two walkers on the horizon because the sea's really gone out. A great picture, I like that. It would be tricky to get this right because we've got bright light outside and heavy shadow under the pier like that, but we've got detail in the decking of the pier above. So I think it's a great handling of lighting to try and get that particular shot right. Hold it back, please.
Wild barn owl hunting.
Another good shot. I somehow seem to think I've seen the shot before somewhere, but maybe I haven't. But certainly a great picture, which I'm enjoying this particular scene. I like the lighting. I like the subject matter. I like the grass in the foreground. I love the sense of diffusion of that background, and the bird itself. We have the bird very detailed, wings outstretched, maybe backlit by the sun behind it somewhere, and it's seen something in the field, it's about to drop down and swoop on it, and it's in the right part of the image area. Everything gels in that particular shot. That's a great picture. Hold it back, please. I must resist holding back too many because you've all got homes to go to. Wood and enemy. Yep, very gentle, very soft, well composed picture showing the wonderful soft colors. The background way out of focus, again adds to the pastel feel of that particular shot. Our focus is on the actual stamens themselves. They're the yellow, they're sharp, they're crisp. The petals around the edge, a little bit soft perhaps. So our focus is actually on the center part of the flower and not so much on the periphery of that. Very simple picture, and a picture that works. 16, please.
Oh.
It's another picture whereby you obviously use monochrome, but you have to work out what the story is about in this particular shot. So we have the bow of the boat there. We have some ropes securing it, and we can see some ropes on the deck itself, and so on. And I'm guessing again it's low tide. I can see like mud around the boat itself. So we've given an element of detail. I'd like to see a little bit more detail. I feel that the ropes start from somewhere unseen and end up somewhere unseen in the foreground. I like to see where they are secured to the boat. So I want a bit more information about that particular shot. I feel that maybe you give me a small element of detail, but you're constraining me. I want to see more of that boat. I want to see more what's on the deck. I want to see the whole story. And you give me just one part of that particular story. So monochrome conversion technique is competent. There's a range of tones in that particular shot. But I think the subject matter feels somewhat restricted. And I want to see more of that boat. 13, please.
Drained.
Right, okay. So we got to start to analyze what this picture is all about. So it looks like, and I could be wrong, it looks like we have a coffee cup, we have some coffee beans right-hand side, and we superimposed a drain, or a sink drain in the center of that coffee cup and put the plug on the left-hand side. That's how I read the picture. Do you read it differently to me? No, jolly good. I'm not going mad then. Okay, so it's an interesting shot. We've taken two totally different elements or two totally different parts of what we see in our homes and combined them to create a different shot. And so a picture that makes you think about, what am I looking at here? It doesn't look quite right. So maybe this is where the coffee drains away. So you start with a hot cup of coffee, you don't realize you're drinking it, you go to finish up, it's all drained away, where's it gone? So maybe that's your story there. So in terms of technique, is more of an academic exercise in creating something different for a photograph. I think you lit it well. You've combined the elements very well indeed. It's a different picture. 16. Well, I don't disagree with what it is. It's all about lighting on that leaf. And that leaf is, okay, it stands out because that's where the light is. What else is in the scene? It's on a dark background. I do not see where the image ends and the blackness of the screen starts. So on a shot like that, I'd like a little key line around the image to tell me where that leaf is in terms of the total image area. I've got no clue looking at that. It's just a leaf lit coming out of the screen at me. So I think I want something else in the shot to really make that stand out. So the lighting is great. I see why we took the picture, but to me, it needs other elements to make that shot work. And as it stands, it doesn't work as well as it can do. 12, please.
Snow leopard profile.
Snow leopards are very rare beasts and very difficult to see them in the wild. When I was in the Himalayas, I didn't get a chance to see one. But yeah, it's a great shot of snow leopard. I like to see the whiskers sharp in animals like this, and they are sharp, great for that point of view. It's unfortunate it's in captivity. We can see the bars behind. We can see it's in a cage. And sort of shot whereby could we have use a very fast lens, aperture maybe 1.8, to reflow that background way out of focus so we do not see it in captivity like that. But having said that, the fur is great detail there. I like the glassiness of the eyes, the sharpness of the whiskers. That's a competent picture of a snow leopard. It's just the background just lets it down a little bit for me, but it gets a 16.
The mating dance.
Yeah, gannets in a typical sort of behavior like this. And I do love these birds for the coloration on the heads. That works particularly well. So this particular bird, outstretched wings, is part of it, is ritual play to try and attract the mate. The foreground, we have another bird looking at it. And below that, on the left of the two birds, there's a head and two eyes staring back at us, which I find quite amusing. It's almost appearing out of the mist, as it were. And I think the rest of the foreground are going to be other gannets as part of a colony, and they're thrown way out of focus. Maybe we shot this a very long lens from some distance away and focused on that bird there, and everything else in the foreground is somewhat diffuse like that, which is a bit of a shame because it makes me feel that there's a mist at the bottom of the picture, and I'm missing some of the activity that's going on around that. But great shape to the wings. Do we need to watch sky above it? I think we can lose it.
Helena and Hermia. Pretty in white.
Mark, we can't hear anything here in Zoom land.
Yep, sorry, the battery's gone. We'll just sort that out. One moment.
Good. Okay. I've enjoyed looking at this picture. I've scored it as a 16. Can everybody hear me? Are we working?
Is everyone on Zoom? Can you hear David now?
Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
we can.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good,
We
thank
can
you.
hear David, but we've lost the last two. 28
Thank you,
to
thank you,
29.
Janet. We'll move on.
Yeah.
And sewage works outflow.
I guess it's topical. It's been in the news for the past few days. Sewage outfalls and all sorts of things. You have to work hard to understand what the picture's about. So we have what appears to be some sort of object in the flow coming out, and we have water flowing around it, creating that bit of a bow wave. And when I saw that, I thought it looks like the tower of a submarine surfacing from the sea, and you're looking down on that. That's what I first saw when I saw that. But now you give me the title, I now think differently about that. I think on top of that object in the center, there are like some water droplets, also there's some sort of texture on it, which I can't quite make out. To me, it's all about shape, and the best bit of the shape is the bottom 2/3 of the picture. Bit at the top, again, we have some like torrents of water, a bit more blurred, a bit less distinct, but is the shape in the bottom part of the picture, I think, is what you want to try and capture in that particular scene. 15, please.
Back in time.
Okay, back in time, I'm trying to guess where we're going back in time to. Would this be 1950s, looking at the truck behind them? It looks like an American pickup truck of some kind. And these guys are sort of dressed as rockers, maybe, in the leather jackets, their boots, and maybe they've got motorbikes around the corner. I don't know, but certainly great in terms of composition. It strikes me as being a sort of picture of maybe a pop group for an album cover. That's the feel I get from that particular shot. And to do that, we want a lot of white space at the top, whereby you can put the name of the album or the name of the group at the top there, and maybe a record comes. You would love to have that, possibly. I think the black and white treatment, a slightly warm tone, adds the oldie world feel to that. I think it's also showing a bit of attitude. The guy on the right-hand side is not connecting with you, but the other three people are, perhaps. Interesting shot. I think you've done well. 17.
From sea to sand.
So I'm just guessing that obviously these beach huts are on stilts for a reason, to lift them out of the water, and obviously the water's at a height there, and therefore they are being protected from being soaked. So I like the colorations. I like the center part of the picture. I'm not sure the rest of the scene adds to it for me. Sort of shot where I want to go in really close and have a perspective shot of the different colors and shapes of the huts themselves, rather than having too much in that foreground, which doesn't add a great lot to the picture, as far as I see it as a viewer. I also feel the horizons tilting down, particularly on the left-hand side. It seems to be like tilting away a little bit. So I'm not sure that horizon's actually level as well. So it could be an optical illusion as the way I'm looking at the picture. So I think there's a chance of a good picture here, but maybe this isn't the picture that we really wanted from that particular scene. 14, please.
Water rail.
This shot works because of a wonderful lighting.
Yeah.
There's a warmth for lighting. I'm guessing that it maybe towards the end of the day, warm lighting in the sky, reflecting the water. We've got light on the birds themselves and a great reflection down there. And of course, there's some activity. One of the birds is actually watching while the other plucks a fish out of the water. That's a great picture. I've enjoyed looking at that. Hold it back, please.
Yeah, picture.
Could you mute yourselves, please, at Zoom? Leaving early.
Lovely lighting on the sky, great clouds, great feeling of mood, early morning, boat departing, great structure of the picture, gentle ripples in the water reflecting that sky, and there's obviously the boat being on the left third of the picture, the right-hand side adding interest to the right-hand side of the picture. A competent shot, it works. 17.
Wild little owl chicks.
there's a sort of emotional appeal to this picture. These little owl chicks like that, staring back, looking somewhat lost. They haven't yet fully fledged into adult birds, maybe yet don't know how to hunt, looking somewhat vulnerable, waiting for the parents to come back and feed them perhaps. So there's a wonderful feel of vulnerability, of youngness in this particular shot of birds. I like the colorations of the picture, the browns of the birds, the browns and greens of the actual part of a fence post that they're actually on, and sort of the green in the background, sort of a meadow perhaps. That works well, a very competent picture. Yeah, we'll see it again if you don't mind.
Taking down your big brother.
Two dogs enjoying themselves on the beach, having a bit of a chase, a bit of a tussle perhaps, a bit of fun, and certainly dogs do enjoy racing along the beach and playing like this. There's nothing distracting in the shot there. We can see they're on a beach. We can see they're on maybe some damp sand, some water behind, and they're enjoying each other's company, having a bit of fun. 17.
Matata Beach.
Okay, it's a beach. I guess it's a beach whereby we've had a Land Rover or Jeeps driving along it, looking at the trails on the beach. We have on the right-hand side a line of trees. We can't make it too much detail to see exactly what they are. We can see some fluffy clouds on the sky, top left-hand corner, and maybe we can see a bit of the sea on the left edge of the picture. But mostly the picture is about tire tracks in the sand like that. Okay, the tire tracks can act as leading lines, take us into the picture, but where they take us in the picture to somewhere interesting, but we take us to the indistinct detail of the edge of the water and of the trees themselves. So there's elements that could work, but somehow there's then emptiness in the picture. There's something missing there. I want some other detail. It's sort of a shot whereby if you had some people doing some pony tracking in the distance that the tracks took us to, or maybe a walk over a dog, it takes us somewhere, but it takes us down the end and we don't have anything to actually enjoy when we get to the end of that particular beach. 13, please.
Okay, that concludes the images. We have 9 held back.
Okay, if we can go through them quickly, please, to see what we've got. Okay, let's give these some marks. I'm giving the higher marks to these images because I think these are the cream of what we have in this particular section. I've enjoyed looking at all of these images and now I need to split them with some marks. So this one starts with an 18, please.
That's Elizabeth Hopper.
Another 18.
That's Alan Godfrey.
A 19.
Well done to Liz again.
18.
That's Andy Holloway.
19.
That's Carol Green.
19.
That's Matthew Bickham.
20.
That's Sophia Spurgeon.
Another 20.
That's Robin Lee.
And a 19.
And that's Sophia Spurgeon.
Well done, Sophia.